here at one of our favorite places in Oklahoma, and that is Greenleaf Nursery. And I'm walking through a forest of Taylor Junipers. And you probably recognize this plant as being an upright columnar juniper, but there's a lot that goes into it to get it ready to go to market. Joining us today is Paul Havenar, who is the production manager for Greenleaf Nursery. And Paul, tell us a little bit. I mean, normally we're not here in the wintertime, but this is a busy time for you guys as well, getting these ready. Tell us a little bit about what we're looking at this process.
Okay, yeah, it is a very busy time for us. So we're got crews down in the propagation building that's doing our grafting process right now. So what we're going to show you here today is we'll take a cutting off of this tree to show you what the sign wood will look like. And a lot of these trees will be sold, but some of these trees will also be shifted up into larger containers and then sold in a later year.
Okay, so we've got one that, is this a 5-gallon or 10-gallon?
That's a 10-gallon.
So we're in a 10-gallon, so some of these will be shifted up to even larger.
They will.
Some of these are sold right now as they are? Or?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, all right. So this didn't just happen. How did you get it to this point? What do we need to do with it?
Okay, so the start of this process is we're going to take a cutting here that we call sign wood. Okay. And we can take it off the terminal of the plant here, and we're going to cut it right here. And what this will do for us, this will leave us a terminal here, so it'll reestablish its apical dominance, and a year from now you won't even be able to tell that we took that cutting.
Okay, so this will become your new central leader right here.
It will. Okay. And we've got the cutting here now. It's the right diameter that we can match up with our understock down at the propagation building for the grafters.
Okay, so when we say scion, that's the scion wood is the top part of a graft. And a lot of times we don't realize what plants are being grafted, but Taylor junipers are actually grafted on a different rootstock.
Exactly. Okay. They don't have a strong enough root system to go ahead and grow on their own, so we graft them onto a plant that has a very strong root system that will help them survive and thrive in the landscape.
Okay, so now this one that you actually just trimmed off of, this is not one that you'll sell this year?
Correct.
Is that one you would then grow on for another year?
Mm-hmm. It'll shift up into a larger container and then we'll sell it the next year.
Okay, how old is this one?
That one, the understock for this plant is going to be a year older than the rest of the plant.
Okay, all right, and you can't tell, there's no other growth showing any different than the Taylor that we know.
Right,
so.
But the roots are different.
All right, well, shall we take that and see what we do with that? This is the next step?
Okay.
Excellent.
Okay, Casey, so we've taken our cutting out in the field, our sign wood out in the field, and now we brought it down to the propagation building. This is our west mist room, and this is where all the grafters are.
Okay.
The first thing that happens, you may notice that the cutting I've taken now has been trimmed up. We have to have a spot at the bottom so that it can be wedged.
Okay.
So this gentleman is doing all of our wedges for us. He has a very sharp knife, and he's taking usually one solid cut on each side to make a nice perfect wedge, because what we want to do is line up the cambium layer on the cutting with the cambium layer on the understock plant so that you get a good graft union.
Okay, so the diameter of the two are really important, right?
The diameter of the two are important. If we have a cutting that's a little bit smaller than the understock, then we want to line up one side of the cambium for sure.
Okay, because that's where they fuse together and
that's where they start forming the callus, and they'll form the union.
All right, so he's got a pile of them over there, and then he's putting them in water after he cuts them?
In water in the cups there, and then as the grafters need them, they'll come get those cuttings and take them to their station.
Okay, and tell us a little bit, so this is the rootstock. How old is that, and where did that come from? Is it the same type of juniper or same species? Or?
So we said that we started out there by taking the cutting, but actually a year ago the understock cuttings were taken and they were stuck in a ground bed, roots grown on them, so that's actually a year older than this cutting.
Okay.
And they're a close cousin. Those are Hetzi chinensis, and these are Hetzi virginianus, so they're close, so they'll form a good graft union.
Okay, okay. Excellent. So what's the next step after they've got them all wrapped up? That's just the beginning still, right?
It's still the beginning. So once they've got them wrapped up, they will fill their tray. The trays are taken to our greenhouse where we have beds of bottom heat and mist and tinting to help keep the humidity up.
All right, so I would imagine the humidity is really important and critical to make sure that they don't dry out. Mm-hmm. Because right now that has no roots on it, so it's just living off of, it hasn't fused to the roots yet.
Right. So Everything this plant needs, we have to give it. It doesn't need any fertilizer right now, but it does need mist or high humidity so that it doesn't dry out. When the plants are taken over there, they are plunged in under moist composted pine bark around the graft union, so that'll keep that moist, and then the mist or the tinting will keep the top moist.
Okay.
We're giving it all the moisture it needs because it has no roots to get moisture.
Okay, all right. And then the next question is, how long are they on mist for?
Well, they're
how
on
long does it take for them to grow together?
They're on mist usually for 4 to 5 weeks, and then once we start to see a 1/4 inch of growth, new growth on the top of the sign, we know that we can back off the mist, and at that point we will actually pull the whole plant up out of the moist bark, and we will cut off, let me show you here, we'll actually make a cut here to remove the top part of the understock, where all we have remain is the sign wood and the lower part of the understock, because the root system is all we really want of the understock.
All right, okay, so
once this gets planted into an 8-inch container, it'll grow 2 years in that container, and then it starts getting shifted up into other size containers. So 2 years in an 8-inch, and then to a finished 5-gallon will be another year, so that would be like 3 years at least for that one to grow.
And in all that process, you're still harvesting some scion wood from those plants, right?
The best sign wood you can get is off of actively growing plants, so that's where we harvest.
All right, and where did their rootstock cuttings come from? And you mentioned that you had grown them out, but do you have parent plants or mother plants that you're harvesting those from as well?
Yes, we have a stock block of the understock that we'll take cuttings from that we use each year.
All right, excellent. Well, this has been a fascinating journey, and I thank you for walking us through this. And this is just on Taylor Junipers. You guys have a lot more plants that you're producing here, and I would imagine that this is just one aspect. About how many other plants might you be grafting?
Well, at least with the junipers, we also graft Canardia and Perfecta, and then all of our Japanese maples are grafted. A lot of the fruit trees are also grafted. We do some sweet gums and some black gums from grafting also, but that's different departments.
Okay, and that's probably a different type of grafting too, is that correct? Or?
Yeah, the junipers will get what we call a side-veneer graft, but then the fruit trees and all the other trees, deciduous trees, get what we call a chip bud. It's just one bud from the parent plant grafted onto the understock.
All right, well, Paul, thank you for sharing this with us. We might have to come back and check out those side bud grafts as well.
All right, okay, thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this video. It's part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.